Hey, Amil. Welcome to the
Hey,
show.
how are you, Venkata?
I'm doing
Thank you.
good, thanks. How are you?
Good.
I'm really excited for today's conversation, even sharing all the insights about your business and the industry you're working with. I think it is really going to be amazing. And yeah, why don't
Thank
you
you.
just start with your introduction and what is your company
Okay.
doing for our audience?
Okay, fantastic. My name is Yamil Arraste. I own a marketing strategic studio called Everything Now. We're based in Madrid, and we provide support, strategic support to luxury hotels, luxury groups, owning groups, as well as corporate environments, right? So it all depends a bit on the scope of work. In my case, I have 24 years of experience working for luxury hotels. The majority of the time with Marriott, and within Marriott, I did around 8 years with Ritz-Carlton, another 8 with W, which was Starbucks back then, but then it was acquired by Marriott. And then the last 8 years before I set up the studio, I was regional director of marketing for the luxury brands in Europe. So I was in charge of supporting around 100 hotels in Europe from the luxury brands within Marriott. So I did that for around, as I said, around 8 years, which was very interesting and helped me to, because I did it for so long, I was able to see multiple cycles of the business. And at the same time, because of my role was sitting between property level as well as corporate and regional and within multiple stakeholders, it helped me to get a pretty good view of the business from like a 360 perspective. Right after all of these years, and I had this idea of setting on my own thing for quite some time. So last December, on December of 2024, I just started to make the jump, and I open Everything Now as of January 2025. So now it's recently been our first anniversaries. We're very new into it, but things are going well.
Got it. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And it is really an interesting industry you are working with. So you told me you are only working exclusively for the luxury hotels, right? So
Yes.
yeah, how this industry is shaping now, and how these luxury hotels are thinking in terms of the marketing perspective. So you've been in the industry for a very long time, like almost 20
Yes.
years. So what it used to be for them in terms of the marketing and what it is now.
Yes. Okay. So half of the time I worked for a company was on operation, right? So, and then the other half was has been marketing. So just to put into context, right? So of course, when I started back in 2004, when I was 24 years old, I mean, marketing was all non-digital, right? So there was nothing there. So obviously, just by that fact, everything has changed. But lately, obviously, the last 10 years, or I would say maybe 15 years, is when it really has evolved and got into this social digital space that continuously evolves and changes, right? So everything changes constantly. Is one thing I know for sure since I've been working on the marketing side of hotels is that there's nothing that you can replicate every year. There are certain tactics, but just with a European regulation around privacy, just the change of the algorithm changes everything in terms of how you run your campaigns and so on. Also, the changes in generations and how they consume information, regardless of whether they're luxury audiences or not, it has also changed, right? So just by the fact that you need to be on top of whatever happens on the digital world, whatever happens on the generational shifts in terms of consumers, and whatever happens in terms of cultural changes, which now is being like very chaotic in terms of culture, just by these three things, the work that I do needs to be constantly evolving and changing. So to your question, I would say for the last 20 years, there has not been a constant in what we do. The only thing that has been constant is the business that hotels do. Like travel is travel, right? And yes, there are things that are changing in terms of services and so on. So that is one thing. Everything else is a constant evolution, and getting your mindset into that and getting trained to deal with this level of agility, flexibility, and ambiguity is crucial for marketing.
Got it. Got it. And yeah, if we discuss more about the business you are doing, I've gone through your website. So you have got really such an amazing results, and you have worked with so many amazing clients around the world. So if you could share one specific situation where a luxury hotel came to you only for a marketing or one type of solution, but when you dive deep into it, so you got to know it is not only about the marketing, and we need to look into multiple aspects of the businesses. So can you share a specific success story of how this entire journey has gone through for one of your clients?
Yeah. So what we do is strategic, right? And it almost falls into full commercial support because indeed marketing is not something that works on its own. So in a way, every project, and because it's such an unknown discipline, everybody know so you can have a profile, someone that think they know everything, and you can have someone that doesn't feel comfortable with it all. But the reality is that both of them, in majority of the cases, doesn't always know everything, right? So with that, every time we get approached by a hotel in terms of we're asking for support or for our services, they start with one thing, but then you start digging deeper, and then indeed everything gets a bit more complex, right? And I think that's the edge of what we offer that we see beyond the tactical side of marketing. Project that has really, so all of that in a way have changes, but one of the first client that I have was the SLS in Barcelona, a part of Ennismore and part of Accor. That hotel is still in the as my client, so it's been a year and some around that, and that was a big eye opener for me in terms of evolving what everything now is about, right? So everything is started to on a very marketing way, like it's just make sure that there was a clear positioning for the hotel, that the budget was properly allocated, that we had a good marketing plan in place, as well as campaigns and so on to support the launch. But then when I started working on it and supporting this team, which by the way is amazing, I learned that there was a lot more that I needed to align on the property to make the marketing side work. So I needed to dig a little deeper into their sales strategy, into their business mix, into their rate and revenue strategy. And then also on the operational side, right? This is a hotel that has 6 venues, and not all venues need to or should be pushed or promoted in the same way. Not all venues serve for the same purpose. So to get into the place where I knew what to do, I needed to like put my different hats to be able to understand what was the original idea when this hotel was set up and planned, which normally happens years before they open. Right? By the time a hotel opened, a lot of things have changed already in the market. Right? Getting just to that, you do need to take and put on several hats and try to understand the whole spectrum. SLS was a challenge because it was new for me to work with Ennismore. It was new for me to work in Accor. So I came to this project with a lot of policies and rules and regulations that I was trained on my Marriott experience, right? And then you enter this new environment, which is a more entrepreneurial and more risk-taking and more innovative. I had to kind of put certain things on a box of my experience and then like really dig and try to understand what was everything about and what was initially planned. So I had to have multiple meetings with the owners, a lot of conversations with the GM, many conversations with the Ennismore team, just for me to understand what it is exactly what they wanted to achieve. So then I can turn it into a proper marketing support and plan a strategy for them, right? And that happens with every client. We are not a studio that will just do what the client wants based on a brief, because it doesn't work that way, right? So in every client, we're forced to step outside of our discipline and connect with different stakeholders to then understand and adapt what we're doing for them. Right. But I think SLS was a good example of a project where I had to really go beyond the regular scope. I actually moved to Barcelona for months. It was the first one. It was the first client, so I could do it. And I was literally working from the hotel 4 months out of the opening to really familiarize with everything. As I said, to really understand. I didn't want to Marriott-ize a company, right? So I was very careful on doing that. And I had to spend a lot of time trying to understand where they're coming from and also challenge my own assumptions, right? Not everything that I knew is the only way to do it, right? So I was very open about it and very open to connect with people that may not be related to marketing in the first place, and also help them to understand that they are in a way, no? So SLS is a good example. That hotel is now on the second year. Things and the numbers are getting better. It was a challenging property because they opened in a location that is not traditional in Barcelona as a new area. So there's also the challenge of building a destination for that, but it's getting there.
Got it. Got it.
I'm happy.
Amazing.
I'm happy for them.
Yeah, yeah. It was really amazing success story. Yeah. And yeah, since you had told me like you have to wear different hats so that you can able to, help these type of luxury hotels to achieve their successes. So what is the real challenge of, this kind of specific work you are doing of, wearing multiple hats?
Yeah. It's a good question. So that's one challenge I need to solve with my studio, right? So because of what I do is based on many years of experiencing a very concrete environment, I was lucky. I was lucky to be what I was doing before getting that job. And I was lucky that the Marriott team believed in me to kind of like take over that responsibility. And then in a way, despite my multiple intents to change my job in the company, I was lucky that I never changed because that gave me, as I said, 8 years of visibility to a continent in terms of how it works. So I saw the impact a general manager has on a particular project. I saw the impact of talent. I saw the impact of projects. I saw the impact of having a great relationship with the owners. I saw the impact of understanding every brand and protecting them. I saw the impact of having great content. I also saw what happens when you do things right. I also had to deal with my own mistakes, right? So the challenge with everything now with my studio is that finding people that have seen what I have seen is almost impossible, right? So that is right now the biggest challenge. We are growing and we seems to be doing good, and clients are happy, and most of the clients are still with me since I started. I also has refined a lot of the services and be very clear on what we do and what we don't. I didn't start with luxury only. So the luxury became, I would say, around May when I realized that luxury hotels were approaching me. So I said, like, maybe I should embrace this, right? And just be hyper specialized in luxury. So right now, finding talent or developing the talent that I have in the studio is the challenge, just because what we do is not based on a book or based on a single hotel experience or not even in a corporate experience. It's based on a combination of everything I did before the role, my deep understanding of how operation works, and then everything I saw, which is literally 8 years of cycles of the business. Right? So there is a lot of things that now I can predict just because I've seen it so many times happening. So I've seen hotels sinking. I've done things. I saw them getting up. Then I done one thing that was wrong and I saw them sinking again. So all of that experience is almost impossible to replicate when it comes to finding people. So the challenge that I have is that now what I'm doing is obviously looking for talent that has the skills and attitude based on the studio positioning and what we try to deliver for our clients. And then really training them, like trying to download everything that I have on my head so they slowly get to the point where I am.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. And yeah, in terms of the technical perspective, if we look at the situation where we are right now, AI is everywhere, right? So if I ask you the question like how you are integrating AI, or is there any particular workflow where AI is kind of helping you to, improve the productivity, or where you cannot see the results, and what is your take on implementing AI into marketing, especially in your specific industry?
So the AI has been with marketing, especially for large companies, for a while, even before the boom, right? So there was already software and technology that was applied by hotels when it comes to AI. I never really worked directly with it, but I know that everything around revenue before the big boom was already kind of AI driven, all this analysis and suggested rate and all of that, right? I also know that from a marketing perspective, when the company run all these campaigns, there was also some level of AI in it. I think AI is something that we need to embrace, and it's a great tool. For me, it was the first, I would say, the first employee I hired. So I went to Pro with ChatGPT, and I hired this note taker for my calls, right? Because I was alone, and I started getting all this work, and I realized that I had to take calls when I was on the move. So I had this recording. So I've been embracing AI because it's a great tool and it saves a lot of time. I think people need to be aware of the privacy implication that it has. You cannot really do everything. I also think that some of the outcome that AI produces in the most regular way people is now using it is repetitive, and you can spot it when it's AI generated. I also think that we need to honor humanity, and I love copywriters, and I think we need to support them. And I think although AI can do a great job, you cannot really replicate when a copywriter understands deeply what you're trying to do and put also their point. I think the same about photographers and videographers. I think people need to see real world, and I think we need the eyes of artists in what we do, especially in marketing, right? So I am not a big fan of this automatization and overuse of it. I understand is where life is going, and I'm trying to stay close to it so I understand it. But when it comes to my studio, I still advise my client to work with people and to use people as much as I can just to keep that human element. I also think people are starting to get tired of this, and the only way that you can now, and we're seeing that in social media, right? The only way that you can only stand out is when your content is actually super real and actually not perfect, right? So again, I think it's just something we're seeing as we go. I think if used properly for data analysis, for languages is great, right? If you don't speak a certain language, it's so easy now to talk to somebody else through this. So I think it's great to have it. I think you need to be careful. And I think you need to have a humanistic point of view and just protect art in general and creativity, right? Because you don't want that to die. And what I've seen in my customers is that the ones that understand that budget for it and that work with real people instead of just using AI as some companies are doing are the ones that actually get more traction. And because people, I think, also think this way, right? So again, I don't have an opinion I think I'm watching and I'm observing how everything is evolving. I also don't want to be like super stuck on one side and then just get like neglect things that are happening because my client deserves to have the latest information. So one of the things we do is just be super transparent, right? This is the options. This is what we think about it. So right now, this is where I am. I think this is still something we need to look how evolve. I think AI is great. And I think there is a lot of things that we can do as long as you don't kill the humanistic side of the work that we do, which is mostly on the creative direction, art direction, and all of that piece, where a human eye and human experience also, I don't think can be replicated with a machine, by a machine.
Yeah, makes sense. Even I feel like we should only use AI as an assistant, not like the complete replacement
Exactly.
for any of
Exactly. It shouldn't be a replacement, right? I think so. I think it shouldn't be a replacement. And I think like marketeers and people in the field, we need to be super strong about it because sometimes, like big corporate machines, they just look at numbers, right? And sometimes, yes, AI might be cheaper, right? So from a numbers perspective, from a financial perspective, it might make sense that you embrace it. But I think, or at least in my case, I think we need to, protect the craft of creative work and make sure that we don't lose that edge because otherwise everything's going to look the same. And ChatGPT, for example, which is something I use constantly, you already see it, right? That you ask a few things and it always sounds the same, right? And it always agree with you. So it really is very dangerous to get lost in it because I think you detach from the reality. So one of the things I do and I recommend to clients and my team and myself is stay close to the cultural trends, see what's happening, right? And look and identify these sources of content that are really good and good for you rather than just depending on whatever the social media algorithm put in your face, right? So I think having a good inventory of places where you gather information to keep yourself updated is important, more important than ever, and not just rely on whatever the algorithms give you. Otherwise, you get detached from what's happening. And the challenge with the problem is that if that happens, by the time you realize, you are already out of the system, to put it in a way. So I like AI. It helped me a lot. It's part of the foundation of the studio because I was alone and I couldn't have done it without it. And I will continue to embrace it because I think it's fascinating. But I also feel equally strong about protecting human creativity.
Got it. Yeah. It does really make sense. And
Thank you.
yeah, and also in our podcast, we mainly discuss about marketing. So because marketing is really crucial for each and every business, right? So if we talk about how you approach marketing for your own business, so what are your marketing channels? Where do you kind of getting the traction for your business?
Yeah, so usually that happens, right? So when you do marketing for others, you do marketing for yourself. So I think I have a lot of areas of opportunity in the way I market my studio. What happened with us is that we've been lucky that the business has been coming faster than our capacity, right? So I haven't had the need to really like work heavily on my market. This is the first time I'm doing that is the second time I'm doing a podcast, right? And I know that this is something that could work for the type of work that I do. But again, I was very cautious to make sure that I don't grow more than that I don't chew more than I can, that I can buy more than I can chew. So from my marketing of the studio, one of the things I started to do, which was really great and continued to work well, was this blog. So I had all these ideas and experience that I wanted to share with my audience on LinkedIn and with my network. And it just started like a little hobby for the weekends and where I was just posting advice on marketing things. Also sometimes triggered by an owner request, also by a client request, and some others just based on what I thought people could need, like what to do on your holidays, how do you come to do a marketing plan. And that got a lot of traction. That actually become like a launch strategy for the studio without me really thinking about it, right? Or planning it to be. So from my experience, I have very clear that, or for the studio, LinkedIn is our channel, right? And this type of content is really driving interest from and getting like spreading the word about what we do in this like long form type of content. The key to the success was that I was honestly interested in providing good advice and not things that you could find in a textbook or something. It also was very so there are some rules for that content, right? Like always needs to be practical. It always needs to be based on experience. I try to always show sometimes when I failed and then what I did, right? So keep it very honest and kind of vulnerable because I know that when you are working in a hotel or when you're working in marketing in a corporate, this is very heavy and you're forced to be in situations where you don't feel ready. So the goal of the blog was to equip people to know that it's okay to feel that way, but this is my advice of how to deal with it when you are in the zone, right? So I think that honesty really resonated well, at least with the audience that I had on LinkedIn, and really put this blog strategy that started just as a hobby into like a launch strategy for the studio. I think we need to improve on other channels. So I have an Instagram account, but because of what we do is so strategic and many times confidential, I cannot really say anything about it. So right now I just use it to post my portfolio, but I'm still figuring out what to do with it and how to embrace it. What I don't want to do is just advise clients to do one thing and then I do another, right? So I'm still debating on what is my point of view on marketing for my studio, right? So I've been considering, for example, deleting Instagram. Like for me, it doesn't make sense to have it. On the other hand, I say like maybe I should keep it, right? So I'm still debating, and because of most of the time, my thinking goes to the clients, and because of the studios getting traction, I don't have a lot of time to think about the marketing for myself, right? So it's an area for improvement. But again, I think one thing I know is LinkedIn is a very strong channel for the work that we do. And this nice, it was nice to learn and to realize that blog is still a thing and that people like it, right? So that's what I've been doing for everything now.
Got it. Yeah, sounds good. And yeah, if we look at the future, so what is your next move? Where do you want to see your studio in the next 12 months or even beyond?
So I would like to grow in quality and not in volume. So I'm looking for better projects and projects that we're excited about. I'm not thinking that the studio was going to become a massive company. I wanted to keep it small. I think luxury requires attention to detail it requires attention to detail and specialization, right? So volume doesn't go well with luxury, right? So to me, it's more about now finding the right projects where we can really deliver value to the client at the same time grow the studio brand. I am very interested in working closely with developers and owners. I think a lot of what I know and a lot of what we do in the studio is of great value for developers. And I also want to grow support to corporate and large travel organization, right? So right now we're working with Rosewood with a very specific project. We just signed up with Minor. There's another couple of companies like looking for support from our side. So that kind of wing of services is something I want to grow, just because I think what I know sometimes or what the experience that we offer will create more value when it's sitting at that level rather than at property level. On the other side, the portfolio of hotels we support is great, and I want to keep it that way. We have amazing hotels and amazing destinations, and I think that is also something that is very good for the studio, right? So I want to keep that level of support and that portfolio of hotels with it because I think it's important, but also kind of like look into these more high-level projects where we can really make an impact from the moment a project is starting, instead of trying to go and fix something.
Got it. Amazing. Yeah, I'm really wishing you all the very best for your future.
Thank you.
And yeah, so before we wrap up the episode, if you could share one advice for the marketers, for the operators out there, even especially for the business owners out there, what one advice you could give them, especially when it is related to the hospitality industry?
Yeah. I think you need to be always humble and realize that you don't always have all the answers. I think marketeers need to really spend time educating themselves. It's okay to be a marketeer, but you need to know more to be a good marketeer, right? So financial acumen is important. Understanding how operation work, understanding the hard work of a housekeeper or how hard it is to work in the kitchen. You need to understand that in order to understand what the business is about. Also, you need to spend time with customers and you need to position yourself always with a consumer mindset, right? So my advice to marketeers, and what I normally see in people or marketeers that I used to work and I still work, is that you hyper specialize in something, and because you are not fully connected and understand how the business operates, sometimes you struggle more. Whether if you spend a little bit of time educating yourself on all these other side disciplines that are part of the business and understand what do you need from them, what do they need from you, you not only become a stronger leader and a stronger marketer, you also build stronger relationships with people. And that allows you not only to have a good set of campaigns, it allows you to have people supporting you, right? So at the end of the day, marketeers are here to build communities, right? You want people to get to know your product. And a community is not just a digital audience, right? Community is everyone. So to me is to look beyond the role and to make sure you understand how the business operates, especially on the financial side and especially on the operational side. I give for granted that you need to be an expert of the integration between sales, revenue, and marketing, because that you cannot move the needle if you don't understand and have fully alignment with that. And the other thing is humility, right? Because of the industry changes so much, because of the discipline is constantly evolving, playing the card that you know it all is not going to get you anywhere. I think if you're humble and you listen, and if you reach a problem or a situation where you don't know the answer, it's better to say, I don't know, and find out rather than pretend or let that get to your brain. So humbleness is important, as well as just be a good person, right? Help people. With that, a lot of doors and a lot of trouble that marketeers face will be easier to deal with.
Got it. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. It is really a valuable one. Thanks, Yamil.
Thank you.
Thanks for all the insights and all the information you have shared. It has been really an amazing conversation, and yeah, I hope our audience also will find it really valuable. Thank you. And before we leave, if anyone wants to find you out, where they can check out for you.
Well, as I said, my marketing is still need to be better, but they can find me on my website is everythingnow.studio. I also have the Instagram account, everythingnow.studio, which is the same as my website, and obviously on LinkedIn, right? So all the contact information is there, and yeah, that's how they can reach us.
Thank you. Thank you, Yamil.
Thank you. Nice to talk to you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you very much.